So, you want to join the family, huh? Well, sit down and let me open my book of vengeance. Let's see if you've got what it takes. The middle team is separated into two packages, the middle family and Ryoshu's family. Now, you might be wondering, what's that Ryoshu doing here? She ain't no family of ours. Ain't she gonna break our pristine envy res chains? Well, if you use her well, she won't. She'll actually give us more damage and conditionals, so let's get over to her first. If Ryoshu kills Honglu and achieves Shin, which she will by turn 3, she gets a speed range of 6 to 10. That's one speedy gal. Fast enough that at the time this book entry was written, which was before Matthias Outis' release, she can only be outsped if she min rolls versus Ishmael and Sinclair max rolling, and Sinclair still needs to get a lot of books to get there. And if you ever get unlucky, just smack a red eyes open ego on her and chain away! Order is very important with her, so let's move on to that. You want Ryoshu to go first to make sure she goes above everyone on speed ties. Then, make sure Ishmael and Outis are right after. We don't want that Ryoshu touching anyone from the middle, you hear? Then, smack our good old friend Middle Sinclair, the all reliable. After that, put Ring Honglu, Valentino Rodion, or Ring Faust because Valentine is still stuck in her alcohol room. And finally, Rien Yi Sang, who we're gonna slime first. For backups, we're gonna bring Heathcliff turn 2 so that he gets to do a free S3 and give everybody offense and defense level. Man, I love that guy. Then is gonna be followed by Mersault and Dawn. This way, we can start doing full resonance chains and Mersault can start using his up-type 4 electric screaming to boost us up. As for turn order, your top priority is going to be evading with Ryoshu turn 1 and turn 2. And make sure to get 3 envy on turn 1. If you can't do that, you ain't getting a single tattoo. And don't you dare evade with Ryoshu again or she's gonna kill a middle ally. And you ain't escaping the vengeance for that either, because you gave the order, so watch it. Turn 2, you can start stacking your middle units. So let's go how we get our grudges up and exact our vengeance on those idiots that mess with us. Long story short, on turn 2 itself, Sinclair's gonna want to counter after any other middle ally to get max stacks of his book. After that, he'll be max stacked anyways, so you can send him in as the first unit to get countered. Then we want Ishmael to go as late as possible to get her grudges up as fast as she can and turn those into some sweet tattoos. If you manage to do a single absolute resonance, then she can be hit after any other middle ally. But I still wouldn't recommend going immediately after Sinclair, because then you get bonus vendetta damage. And after all, our rule number 1 is we want our big hitters to hit as hard as they can. And the family will be there to help you with that. If the enemy has unbreakables, make sure to take advantage of that Merceau guy. He can clash with his electric screaming ego and give us some real nice damage while taking some and giving us stacks. Man, we really ought to promote him. He's one selfless brother. Now we go to the black sheep of the family. That bastard Outis. I have no idea why she has haste, or why she's so stuck with high resonance requirements. But I guess that's right up that idiot's alley. First, I'll explain a general plan, then I'll go over a specific team you can use in certain encounters. Before we begin, I need to mention that this vengeance entry was written before the patch of the 4th of June, so I'm making some assumptions on how that's gonna work. The assumption here is that that patch will make Rising Fever update dynamically mid-combat after an unpack. Okay, so the gist with Outis is to get her to unpack her sword, her so shiny toy. You can do this by reducing Rising Fever to 0. And you can reduce Rising Fever by 1 per turn by either doing 6A Resonance, which will reduce it on turn end, or by using an S3, which will immediately reduce it. Exceptionally, if you haven't unpacked yet, you can do it by going under 80% HP. We'll be taking full advantage of this and punishing Outis while at it. The plan is as follows for a general fight. Try to stagger Outis turn 1, and make full use of Ryoshu transferring damage to the lowest House of Spiders ID to let her take some hits and transfer that damage over to Outis. Ricardo not being on field will actually make this easier to happen on turn 1. Once you're under 80% HP, she's gonna try to unpack, but won't be able to because, guess what? She's gonna be staggered. Now, because she's staggered, she's actually going to unstagger herself and give herself 15 grudge, which is gonna give us a free S3. And that's real nice, because next turn we're gonna use that S3. Before the S3 goes off, the unpack from last turn that should have triggered due to HP is gonna happen, and is gonna bump our Rising Fever back up to 2. Then our S3 will reduce it down to 1. Hopefully we got some luck, and we naturally do an S3 for our turn 3, which is gonna let us reduce it to 0 and unpack again. After that, Ryoshu should no longer break our resonance chains, so we're gonna be free to do resonances and do S3s from the resonance as much as we want, and our game plan is a go. Now, alternatively, if you're fighting an enemy that can easily stagger Outis on turn 1 on their own, then you can double slot Outis, and we're going to be performing what's called a double unpack. Thanks to sibling @JustAria for bringing this to my attention so I could go test and optimize it. Well, we're going to be performing a double unpack. Remember how we stagger turn 1 and Outis queues up an unpack for the next turn due to HP, since she's staggered and can't do it on that turn? Well, if you go to 0 fever, the same's gonna happen. She's gonna queue and unpack for the next turn. So, either use Resonance and stagger, or use your S3 and stagger by either getting countered before you unpack, or simply by losing the clash and getting staggered, and that sets up a double unpack. Now, next turn you're gonna do 2 unpacks in a row without skipping a stage, as I'll show you here. And since you're going to be using the S3 you got from your unstagger, your fever is also going to go down from 2 to 1 due to the new patch. This means that on turn 3, as soon as we use an S3 or we res, we're going to fully unpack. And if you're double slotting that bastard, you can counter to S3 twice, which means that one of the S3s unpacks and the other one exterminates. Well, that's all. You can all go get your starter vengeance books, and for listening to everything so well, I'll even give you a sticker for it. Welcome to the family, little brothers and sisters.